But Minash, you've also been able to train a lot of celebrities, actors. I think Mahesh Babu is one of them as well. What is that like? You're working because what the work you're doing is going to be visible to millions and millions of people.
Once we're able to help them understand that this is a lifestyle, this is not just walk into the gym and let's just go as hard as we can for 3 months and let's just see what happens at the end of it. Most people run into a wall. They go too fast, too soon, too hard, and they end up getting injured.
The thing that I was always taught is chest karo, and you know you'll be your chest and bicep. I mainly did chest and bicep, and kind of that was something that always took me away from the gym.
Obesity levels are at an all-time high. There's an amount of sugar we have, and I just feel like I'll never trust an Indian with abs because it's just so difficult. It's just so difficult to maintain with our lifestyle of chapati and rice and ghee.
If someone's sitting, they're kind of in a flexed position throughout, right? So the worst thing for that person to do is then go into the gym and start doing some crunches. Because he's just worsening the position that he's already adopting for 8 to 12 hours.
And I saw Virat Kohli walking in, and that man is lean. And then I saw Rohit Sharma walking out, and it's like, he had to round his face.
But there's a reason why they say cut out rice, because it's a highly palatable food. You eat rice or you eat a biryani, like an hour and a half later, you're like, where's my next biryani? You know, a biryani keeps you full only for so long. We don't have to go all the way up to these top level A-listers to ask if is Chris Hemsworth on juice. Of course the guy's on juice. Have you seen the size of that guy? Have you seen him like a couple of years back? He's massive. I appreciate it,
guys. He's so excited. I've never seen him this excited.
We live in this world of a lot of partying and culture and drinking and all bad habits, but also there's another side of our existence is to stay in shape and also take care of your body, to be healthy, of course. And we're very lucky to have Minash Gabriel, who's a very, very popular leader of the health movement, health and fitness movement. You're the founder of Myo Movement in Hyderabad. Welcome to the show, Minash.
Thank you so much, Surya. Thanks for having me, man.
So, Minash, just wanted to learn a lot in this episode about what are you doing and how can we also move on and understand how to stay fit and also healthy, take care of this hardware which we have of our body. What is the Myo Movement which you're currently leading?
So Myo Movement is the company, like you said, I founded exactly a year ago, and it came from a requirement. So I've been personal training now for the last 10 years, and there was a huge gap in two things. One was people starting and then stopping, and the next was the fact that a lot of people are getting injured. So with Myo, we tried to bridge that gap.
Is Myo a short form or something?
For muscle, it's a Greek word for muscle. So it's called muscle movement. But what we're essentially trying to say is, the muscle is the prime mover for the skeleton in the body. So without contraction of muscle, we can't move, we can't react. I can't be doing what I'm doing right now. So with Myo, like I said, we started it off with, the main thing was to assess individuals, and we wanted to make sure that there were professionals in the field who were doing it. So every single individual that works for Myo also runs a huge program that we run for them, and it's a 3-month internship that they do, and they come and they get educated with Myo principles, basically allowing you to understand or set a specific kind of goal for an individual that walks in, which is a reasonable goal. Now you have people who have these goals that are sometimes far-fetched, these goals that they want to achieve this in this much of time, and etc., etc. You know, like the common thing I hear is 6-pack 6 weeks. Can you get that for me? And these are claims that, like we're in the industry long enough to know A, how hard it is to get a 6-pack, B, how hard it is to maintain it. There's one thing getting it, there's another thing keeping it. So we allow these people to really understand the repercussions of those statements, and we say, listen, why don't we just take a step back and why don't we focus on what you can and can't do first, and what is a reasonable goal for you. Once we're able to help them understand that this is a lifestyle, this is not just walk into the gym and let's just go as hard as we can for 3 months and let's just see what happens at the end of it. Most people run into a wall. They go too fast, too soon, too hard, and they end up getting injured. They go on these crash diets where they end up losing a little bit of weight, but the effort that goes into those diets are not sustainable. So whether it's the fact that at the end of 3 months they're burnt out from the exercise, or at the end of 3 months they're burnt out from the fact that they've been starving themselves. At some point, what happens is the gym becomes too hard. And everyone you look at starts looking like donuts and pizzas, and it's just all around.
Yeah, true.
Because they've starved themselves. So it's not a sustainable thing. So again, education is another huge part where we try to explain to people like this is a lifestyle, this will take time.
Yeah.
This is not something that you just come in, trade off a little bit of time for, and then this is the end result.
Yeah.
The process of an aesthetic looking you is actually the fruit of that journey, that effort. But that takes time. So another thing, that we primarily do is assess people. So someone may come in who's got a desk job for 8 hours. Very different compared to an athlete who moves throughout the day. So the athlete's requirements versus the guy who sits a lot versus the guy who has a phobia of just being in the gym. So that's mental capacities we're looking for as far as what they can and can't do in the gym, and the other is physical capacity. Now, a guy who sits a lot, a very simple example that I can give you right off the top of my head is if someone's sitting, they're kind of in a flexed position throughout, right? Okay. So the worst thing for that person to do is then go into the gym and start doing some crunches.
Yeah.
Because he's just worsening the position that he's already adopting for 8 to 12 hours. So these are the things that we try to help them understand. They get their flexion dominant, which is, torso coming towards their legs. They need to go more of the other way.
So it's more customized to your daily sort of a lifestyle.
And we allow an individual to understand what is the best way forward for him, for his body type, for what he does in the day, for how much he sleeps, for how much he eats. Etc.
And when did you think of Myo? How long has it been?
Myo for me was I started thinking about Myo in 2015.
Yes.
And just to take a couple of steps back, I was a professional cricketer, and Shiraz knows this.
I've seen him bowl, my God.
Dude. We've known each other for donkeys.
Yeah.
We used to play football at the community.
Yeah, in the club, in the pool, play football. So I played professionally from the age of 12 to 23.
Okay.
And it was when I was 19 when I started having, small issues with my knee, which compounded because I didn't have the right physio guidance. I was an all-rounder. I debuted for the Ranji Trophy when I was 17.
Oh, wow.
My teammates were guys like Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, Yuzvinder Chahal, all these guys who are currently Siddharth Kaul, who are currently playing for the country.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, fast forward to the point where I was 19, I hurt my knee, ended up getting really bad rehab.
Right.
And I started developing premature signs of arthritis in my right knee. And that's what led me to do one of two things. At 24, I could either find every physio that I went to for an answer and cold-bloodedly kill him in the night. Or I could, figure out the next step, which is, there are probably a lot of people like me who, missed out on a chance because of injury. And I thought I'd go back and study the subject. So that was the genesis of Myo. I wanted to give back to the people, who required it the most, which were people who desperately needed answers to solutions to questions that, were not being asked.
Yeah, it's crazy because like in our generation, a lot of people, they just see working out as an aesthetic sort of a goal. I want a six-pack, or I want to have lats or whatever. But they don't realize that there's a much longer, bigger picture in mind. Like I'm sure, like what is the current gym trend? Are people still more inclined to lifting weights, or is it more about being lean, or what is the...
I mean, what I find...
What do you recommend, honestly?
What I find surprising today is the gym culture is the same culture that, has been there from the start.
Okay.
Which is essentially you go to the gym and then it's a bodybuilding style workout, which is, Monday you go on and there's chest and triceps, and then Tuesday you go on with legs. And then,
I do that till today.
And that's what I'm trying to say. The funny thing about that is there is no one really talking about the fact that the reason the bodybuilders do that is because they want to get their chest like 6 or 7 times the size of what an average chest would look like. So they kind of hammer those muscles over and over again in the quest of what we call hypertrophy, which is just
you're tearing the muscle and letting it rebuild on top.
Yes. But the problem with that is functionally, as human beings, the more lean tissue you have, now it's always good to have more lean tissue than fat. But the bigger you start to get, the low, and not necessarily so, but most of the time you tend to lose a little bit of mobility. There are very few times where you can see a big, bulky bodybuilder, he'll find him struggling to even take his shirt off.
There's a viral trend where someone puts a post-it on these guys' back and they can't even reach it. What's the whole point of going to the gym if you can't even,
Yeah, exactly.
But
but
not
that's
being functional.
Yeah, it's true. So A, there's no functionality to it. B, there is also a sense of this male sort of group need to go to the gym and just pick weights and bang their chests and you're like, how much did you get today? You're picking heavy, and it's this testosterone filled frenzy where no one's really thinking about what's going to happen to them a couple of years down the line. Because as anyone who's been to the gym consistently for 6 months and has actually put on some muscle or a year or whatever, there comes a point where if you give yourself a break from that, you tend to lose all of that. That's just how the body is programmed. So you end up this weirdly shaped like a strange amoeba man, where you've got big lats, but they're not really lats anymore. They're just hanging from your arms, and then you've got like these Manboobs, and then it reaches a point where the question that you got to again ask yourself is, what was the reason why? Why are you doing that? And in my way, we ask those questions. We're like, why do you want a six pack? What is the gratification? I want a six pack because I want to go to the beach and all this. So can we go to the beach with like a 2-pack? Can we go to the beach where you're a little lean? Can we do those things? So that makes sense. It's like, okay, why don't we start with that first, and then then we'll see if you want to. And most people change their minds after that. They start understanding where we're coming from.
They do. I mean, see, for me as well, we spent a lot of time in the club gym together. Okay, so that was kind of genesis for me. I mean, so when I had to put on weight because I was too thin at that point in time, now it's exactly the opposite, I think. But when I was there, the thing that I was always taught is chest karo, and you'll be your chest and bicep. I mainly did chest and bicep, and kind of that was something that always took me away from the gym. I didn't enjoy it so much. After a certain point, I could not look at myself in the mirror. I'm one of those people who can't look at myself in the mirror for too long. So so I was just doing the thing, and then you're constantly like, oh, okay, what's going on? So then I completely shifted my focus to sports. So I love outdoors. So till today I'm still playing football. And that's what gets me going. So what I wanted to ask you was that where can the bridge come between these two things? Where's the bridge? Because you to have fun and to enjoy it, you must.
Gymming is a little bit of if you don't have a gym partner with you, it does get a little mundane, monotonous.
I mean, 2 parts to that. I mean, the first thing, Shiraz is being very humble when he said he was skinny, and then he kind of turned. I remember Shiraz one point. I remember walking to the gym, I think a couple of months after he started, and I looked at him and I was shocked. I was like, look at this blocky dude. He's put on a ton of muscle. I remember that. But coming to the gym, I think it's so individualistic. I think it depends on what makes you happy. For example, he's playing sport, and he likes playing it. The idea of him sustaining that long term is extremely high. And there's certain guys who just love the idea of just getting under some really heavy weights, and you can try and sit with them and rationally have a conversation about the idea of joint health and muscle health and where they'll be in a couple of years. But for them, it's such an escape from they just enter the gym, and for them that's an hour or an hour and a half of their time. And I've seen people, and I've tried to tell them, that's you're going a little too heavy right now. You might want to watch that. And those exact same people have hurt themselves. But the conversation doesn't become, I've hurt myself and I've changed. I don't do that anymore. It's, I've hurt myself, I've got a couple of months off, but I'm going right back to that.
Yeah.
So again, it's very individualistic. Some people is masochists in the gym. They want to go and just kill themselves. And some people like...
Yeah, because I'll tell you, the problem is that if you go, most of these people, either they're getting bad advice from their friends or they're going on YouTube. And YouTube, you hear very, very different things from different trainers. Some people say lift heavy, and until you just give up. Some people say no, do more reps.
Yeah.
And more sets. What do you think is more?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So when you're training, we'll break this down a little specifically now. So let's just say the three of us right now have been training for the last 3 years, and we've kind of reached like a medium level as far as quote unquote gains go on. We're mature in the gym. Let's just say we've got a little bit of muscle maturity. Now, there's going to come a time where you're going to be like, okay, let's start going heavy on the weights.
Okay.
Now, at every single time we go heavy, that is an expense. That's money that's going right out of the bank. Okay. We're putting money, out of the bank, it means with those weights, especially heavy weights, if you've not got the kind of control or the kind of maturity to lift those weights with good techniques, it may not happen instantly, but over a period of time, your joints start taking a hit. That is the money you're putting out. Okay. And if those weights, even when you pick heavy, it's never like you can pick heavy for long periods of time, because many other aspects apart from just the joints come in. So your central nervous system takes a big hit. What I mean by that is, if I want to pick a really heavy weight, I've got to have every single nerve, like let's just say I'm chest pressing right now. Yeah. I've got to have my nerves firing at 100%. These things are called motor neurons. They need to be firing at 100% to make sure every single fiber in the pec is switched on to overcome the weight, which is overcome the load which is coming down on you.
Basically,
And for that, you get neurologically taxed also, which means the ability for you neurologically to recover is also going to take a step back. So it's the harder you go.
What's the worst which can happen if you neurologically go overboard?
Two things are going to happen. One is it's called neurological fatigue. The next thing is it's called adrenal fatigue. Now, the adrenal glands also on top of the kidneys, these small little glands, are also sending in a bunch of hormones. They're called catecholamines, which are important for getting you hyped up. You must have heard of this fight or flight response. There's a reason when someone goes under the weights, they start going crazy, or you have people come and pat them on the back because they're getting into that frenzy. They're working up to it. Nothing's going to happen, but you cannot sustain that over a long period of time. What I'm trying to say is, the heavier you go, the more recovery you need. And if you're going in that range, which is kind of sustainable, 60 to 70%, 70 to 75% of your 1 rep max, then you can sustain that for long periods of time. That's why a power lifter, whose main aim is to lift as much as he possibly can, will probably do his bench on a Monday and revisit his bench on a Saturday.
Got it.
Because he knows his joints, his muscles, his tendons, his nervous system, his adrenal glands, all these things need recovery to come back, because the intensity of that workout was that high.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a 90-minute football game, which is again intense, but this is one area, like your pecs, for example, a bench press, one area under that intensity throughout that workout.
Correct.
So, so you're saying rather than doing heavy, more reps is a better way of building muscle?
So again, I mean, I can't answer it that way, but what I'm trying to say is, in these, when you...
There's pros and cons to both.
Yeah, no, if you're doing a hypertrophy workout, which is basically what we started off with, you can build muscle, and I'm talking about really build muscle, anywhere between 30% all the way to 80% of your 1 rep max. Now, an example is, imagine if I was benching and I had, if 10 kgs on each hand was my 1 rep max, which meant I can do 1 rep, and the second time it comes down, it just drops out of my hands because I can't push it back up. 30% of that. So I can have 3 kgs in either hand, and I can rep that out and have the same kind of, drive to build muscle. The same kind of input to build muscle. Mechanically, instead of doing that with the 1 rep, I've now mechanically tired my muscle over a bunch of reps. But the input is the same. The input is still my brain saying, okay, he's being taxed right now. He needs some more muscle. We need this because he's pushing.
Okay.
So 30% all the way to 80-85%. You can build on 1 rep maxes also, but the principle is time under tension. In a 1 rep max, it's probably lasts like 1 to maybe 4 seconds, 5 seconds. On a 30 rep thing, you're working through a phase of a minute, sometimes 45 seconds.
So a lot of it is mental also, in a way.
in finishing the rep or in getting to the gym?
Finishing the rep.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm someone today, you know, I don't go close to those weights anymore. Not, because when I was young, I was, you know, your ego. I'm 32.
Okay.
Yeah, but
younger. What should we do?
Younger in my weightlifting days. I mean,
okay.
You know, you enter the gym, there's no fear. You kick back anything. But then as injuries start to, you know, manifest, you start to become wiser about the choices you're making. So now I don't go close to those weights unless I really have a block where I'm training, you know, 7-8 months consistently, and there's a goal at the end of it.
Yeah.
But if I'm there, I'm just trying to maintain myself.
Yeah.
Like for example, in the last year and a half with the company setup, I've barely had time. So it's been all maintenance.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep what I have without losing it.
You work out daily or?
Right now, man, sadly, I've 2 to 3 days a week. It's been really hectic in the last year. And
but
I've honestly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed staying off it. Yeah.
So there's weight training workout, then there's also cardio, of course, and a lot of people neglect cardio because I don't know, they find it boring or it's just too.
It's just tougher, I think.
It's just tougher as well. Like, but what is the cardio side of working? How important is that?
I mean, the cardio. See, weight training is extremely important, and the conversation
for boys and girls.
Yeah. There's literally
no
difference between guys. Like, there's this whole idea of girls don't lift too heavy, you'll bulk up.
Yeah.
What happened to us? Why didn't we bulk up? We lift heavy also. Why didn't that happen to us? Stop being sexist. But the cardiorespiratory system was also extremely important for 2 reasons. Like, when we're young, we're exposed to so much of. I mean, if you grow up in a city, you've gone to school, you're exposed to a lot of sport, you run around, you play, and then you come into college and things start changing if you're not into sport. The same way that we tend to stagnate as far as muscle development goes, we tend to stagnate as far as the cardiorespiratory system goes, which means the ability for the heart to be able to efficiently pump blood and the efficiency of the lungs to be able to be elastic and recoil with ease. So as far as cardio goes, there are different zones in which you can train cardio. There's zones 1 to zone 5. Zone 4 and zone 5 are those HIIT zones which are extremely intense. You know, you take your heart rate almost to its max. You have 40-second bursts, and then you bring it back down and you take it back up again. That's one kind of training. It's good, but we technically don't live in that training zone. Unless we're playing.
Exactly.
So it's great to have that capacity, but the capacity you want to also build is the zone 2 capacity. Zone 2 is you and I probably just going for a walk, the 3 of us, and it's maybe slightly uphill. It's very comfortable, but we're kind of talking through it. That's the kind of slow cardio which is boring, which no one wants to do, but it's the most important thing because we live our lives in that zone. You know, you and I are sitting and talking right about at zone 1. Zone 2 is what I just mentioned, slightly above that, which allows us to cater to small things like taking up a flight of stairs and not feeling winded. Or, you know, suddenly baby's running around, you may run, take a few steps and like, oh my gosh, So those are training zones I feel that a lot of people neglect.
We don't even think of it like this, you know. We always think of the gym as like a place where you go and you give it your all, and then you come back and then you're done for the day.
You're not sweating, it wasn't worth it.
Exactly. So, you know, the great thing that I'm hearing here is that, like, you know, you're actually looking at people's day-to-day cycles and you're giving them advice on, you know, what they should be doing rather than what, you know, you think as an athlete that person must be doing a lot more. There, you know, like you said, HIIT. We're not in that zone. Absolutely. We're in a zone where we're running after the kids or going for a brisk walk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait, so can we, while we're talking about HIIT, a lot of people might not know. High intensity interval training.
Yeah.
That's a new thing which I've heard in the last 10 years only. It just came up. Otherwise, before never heard. Is that a healthy way of working out? Because I do that. I do this where it's 20 minutes, go all crazy, following this YouTube clip, and you're winded by the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, so high intensity interval training as a term is new. But as a form of training is the most ancient form of training because that's what every single athlete ever did.
Yeah.
Like
so like you have only 15 seconds rest and then next.
I mean, think about a footballer. Like if you, he's sprinting for like 15 seconds and then he kind of, if he loses the ball, he kind of jogs back and stands around. And that's how their training is. Like whether it's footballers or cricketers, we've always been doing that. And then it became this thing where, like you said, 10 years ago, it's actually been, it's maybe 15, 20 years back when this all started. they started saying, what is, okay, you know what, we're done with the aesthetic, the 70s aesthetic, you know, wide chest, big chest, wide lats, all these things. Let's start looking more athletic. So then they were like, okay, so what are the athletes doing? And then the athletes were doing all these things. So they were doing HIIT and they were doing body weight stuff, functional stuff. They were staying away from the machines.
In the middle, they had that thing as well. Like, what was that?
Yo-yo test.
Yo-yo
The
test.
yo-yo test, yeah. I just still have the yo-yo test.
Yeah.
Is that a good way of testing someone?
It's a fantastic marker, but the thing with the yo-yo test is it's a high level test. I mean, if you don't have any cardio.
So what is the yo-yo test? You basically have to run back and forth.
Yeah. So how it works is I've done the test several times when I was playing. I don't remember the exact distance, but there are two cones placed in line with each other, and then there's a tape that you play, which the tape starts, and then essentially as you run to the other end of the cone, there's a beep that goes off on the tape. So initially you maybe get there a little earlier, then the beep comes off. So until the beep comes, you're waiting there. And as the drill picks up, the speed of the beeps start increasing. So you have to run forward and back until you reach, like, I think Virat has a record of, I think he's 21 or something on those lines. But you have to keep heading back and forth, and you have to match the beeps. And that's essentially, it's a very, very demanding test.
Yeah, it ruined a lot of cricketers' lives, actually.
I mean, it was a really good test for footballers.
Yeah.
It was actually used for a lot of the Premier Leagues and all of this, and then they got it into cricket in India. And a lot of our cricketers failed it in the beginning because...
for sure. Like, it ruined Yuvraj and Sehwag's career, actually, at the end. Because they were on the fag ends of their careers, and that was the sad part about it. But I think in a way it's good that cricketers are no longer like bulgy and fat, and they have to.
What about our captain?
Yeah, exactly.
Our captain, Rohit Sharma, unfortunately. Se tu kar le yaar main.
I don't know if I should have said that.
No, but we went for that game as well that happened in Hyderabad, India, Australia, and I was so excited. I really wanted to go, and I saw Virat Kohli walking in, and that man is lean. And then I saw Rohit Sharma walking out, and it's like, he had the roundest face ever, like,
Yeah, no, Kohli's a machine. Yeah, he takes that stuff seriously. Like, he's not messing around.
He's definitely not messing around. And I saw one of his episodes, right? So he was having a bowl of spinach soup, and that was his dinner.
Yeah.
And this guy was asking him, "How long have you done this?" He said, "I haven't touched butter chicken in 4 years."
Yeah.
And that's some insane control. I mean, and I think to be the best, you have to have.
But like, he turned vegan as well. But is that advisable to cut out non-veg proteins in a way? Or
See, again, personal preference. Now, the whole idea of being vegan is you actually have to. The reason you turn vegan is because you're not happy with the way these animals are being treated and being killed. There's an ideology behind it. It's not like plant-based. You become plant-based because you want to be plant-based. You're a vegan because you sympathize with the way these animals are being treated.
Okay.
But anyway, coming whether it's vegan or plant-based, it depends. Like, if you're a vegan, there are a lot of proteins that are incomplete in plant-based foods. So you have to have a mix of a bunch of things and bring them together. And the foods that you have to eat also are not very calorie dense. So you have to eat a lot of food. So if you're a vegan, the metaphor is like a cow. You've got to keep eating to get the amount of calories in, to get the kind of protein that you want in. It's a lot of food.
There was some documentary which he was a part of where he was kind of justifying that, oh, actually, I'm doing better than ever being on the vegan diet. We're all screwing up eating meat.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't agree with that, quite honestly. Not because of I like meat. I do like meat. Don't get me wrong. But an uncle of mine, he turned vegan, and he had a lot of deficiencies because he's much older. He started when he was much later as well. He started at 50, and like he's 65 now, and like his nerve. Some of his nerves are getting really damaged, while all his brothers who are on the diet are absolutely fine. People around his age are absolutely fine, and they said that because you went on your vegan diet, you didn't take the actual supplements that go with it, so you've missed a lot of nutrients, and your body over a period of time has diminished, and it's destroyed some of your nervous system, some of your muscles, so he's unable to go back.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing to being vegan. Like, if you're not on point with your supplementation, it's problematic. But then again, like, if you're on a vegan diet, do you have a sports nutritionist who's going to help you with the supplementation? You're not. So the case is it's going to end up like your uncle that you were talking about.
Exactly.
But it doesn't have to be like his. Unfortunately, is a bad case where he didn't know. But I'd say the best way to eat is the way your parents, your grandparents, your forefathers have eaten. For example, if they've grown up on like rice and dal, and they've lived till their 80s and their 90s, and they're cancer free and they're disease free, please eat your rice and dal. Don't switch to a Mediterranean diet because you heard a bunch of people up there who all smoked and drank and they still lived.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to work on the basis of the fact that there's a specific genetic code in which you've been made, which comes along your ancestry, and you don't want to mess with that. You don't want to tamper with that.
You can't mess with it.
You can't. But a lot of people do, right? They end up doing these things. They end up doing the fashionable things. Like until recently, it was keto, and now everyone knows keto is just not the way to go. Before that, it was Atkins. Then in the middle, they were squeezed in with this Mediterranean diet. Now it's there's always something that's going to come your way.
So like while you were talking about keto, what is keto? I believe it's like where you're just not having certain amounts of fats. You say you're having fats mainly, but you're not having cereals as such.
So your three macronutrients are going to be your carbs, your proteins, and your fats. It just becomes a redistribution of what the intake is. So if you're keto, you're going to be primarily eating large amounts of fats, your carbohydrate intake drops, and your protein intake also kind of drops.
Okay.
The whole idea is to get into this incredible fat burning zone. However, my issue with any diet or any fad that comes along is these things aren't sustainable. There are a few people who can make it happen, and I mean, good for them. They're the outliers. These guys are the guys who are like, keto. They love their keto breath. They love their butter. They love everything that goes along with it. But if that is a choice that you're taking, can you see yourself doing that in a year? Or can you see yourself doing that in 6 months?
No.
And if it's okay, see, immediately there's a no. So then why do it? Why put yourself through the task of, why are you setting yourself up for failure?
But isn't it also like the body does not want to lose fat? It stores fat for a reason, for a rainy day when you're, but like, isn't the body also fighting with you? It's like, don't lose fat so fast.
Yeah, I mean, I can flip that entire thing around wherein, so the brain primarily functions on glucose, right? That's its food. You don't give the brain glucose, the brain starves. And because of that, we have these reserves of fat in case we don't have our glucose, where the fat gets converted into glucose to feed it to the brain. In the absence of that, we also have the fat that gets broken down into these things called ketones, where the brain survives on. But however, fat is always going to be a store that we just have, like you said, for a rainy day. Our body is very, very happy to expend sugars, which is your glucose, is very, very happy to break down muscle, again, to expend it for energy. But it wants to preserve that fat because, let's just say, like you said, one day we're on a distant desert with no food. That's the only thing that keeps us alive. Of course, water is an even more important commodity where you can't survive for a week without it. But
so, but when we get into this whole keto, they say ketosis. What does that mean? Like,
ketosis is essentially your body starts to make these things called ketone bodies. And instead of using glucose as a primary source of energy, we start using ketone bodies. Or ketones.
Okay.
But it's just a substitute as a fuel for energy, which is our primary energy source is glucose that gets switched over to ketones.
Okay, got it. And that's what breaks down, and then you start losing your fat.
No, you don't. Nothing breaks down. For example, you can put on a ton of weight if you're eating keto. Also, the whole idea is if you're in a calorie deficit, which means you are eating less food than you are burning calories, you lose weight. If you take the same keto and you're in a calorie surplus, you're not losing any weight. There's no burning. There's nothing that's happening over there.
But isn't it the problem also, they say, like when you go on to Europe, everyone's like nice and lean, they're not that fat. Whereas in India, obesity and in America also, obesity levels are at an all-time high. There's an amount of sugar we have, and I just feel like I'll never trust an Indian with abs because it's just so difficult. It's just so difficult to maintain with our lifestyle of chapati and rice and ghee and
But like you said, I think it's a calorie deficit. Like if you know your calorie intake and you take a deficit of it, like you said, and before as well, he mentioned saying your forefathers have eaten this and then they find so why screw with the DNA.
Whenever you want to lose weight, first thing everyone says, "Oh, cut out rice." No. That's the problem. I'm like, doesn't all of Asia eat rice? And they're fine.
No, but there's a reason why they say, I mean, it's sad that they say that till date, but there's a reason why they say cut out rice because it's a highly palatable food.
Yeah.
You eat rice or you eat a biryani, like an hour and a half later, you're like, where's my next biryani? You know, a biryani keeps you full only for so long. It's like mostly 45 minutes. But foods that are protein dense are foods that keep you satiated. On the other hand, we have a small enzyme called amylase, which is in the mouth, which actually starts breaking down carbs the moment it's in your mouth. So imagine how fast these things get processed. If it's already the breakdown process starts in the mouth, by the time it reaches the stomach and then before you know it, you're ready to eat your next rice meal. But proteins take a long time to get broken down. There are these huge big chains of amino acids that need to really be broken down.
Tell us something about more alternate sources, like what about yoga? I mean, how do you feel that affects us? And how good is it? Because India is India is the leader in yoga, and then you know a lot of people abroad have also started. A lot of people are following this doctrine.
So I think yoga is if you put it on a spectrum, if you put weight training on one side, you'll have to put yoga on the counter opposite side of it.
Right.
They can be juxtaposed as two things that are good for you. However, again, the reason is going to be why you're doing yoga. So if you're a person who is extremely stiff, is not mobile, maybe suffers with a little bit of anxiety, etc. And if you're doing yoga, which is primarily focused on breath work, on mindfulness, on flexibility and mobility, then that's a really good strategy for you. However, yoga is not doing anything close to what weight training is doing for you. One of the most important things that I tell people, when I say, so if I meet a new person and I ask them if they work out and they go yes, and then I say, what do you do? And they say yoga. I mean, that's not really a workout. It's a good start. It's a good start position, but that's not really...
you can't build muscle from it?
You can't, because what happens is the variables at some point are exhausted. Like, what can you do? So you can squat and you can hold a squat, you can hold some abs, and then you can maybe do a headstand, a handstand, and that's a warrior pose for an hour and a half maybe. But that's about it. Whereas weight training, you have this thing of resistance, right? Which you can build. The variable of increasing weight, the variable of slowing the rep down, the variable of, machines, all these things that allow you to put your muscle under a lot of tension. And consistently over weeks and weeks, increase that load or increase that intensity or increase the volume, change things up. That those variables are not there in yoga.
What about swimming?
Swimming is great. It's amazing. In fact, anyone who's had, for someone like me, I consider myself like a walking, body of glass. Like I fall here and something goes wrong. I break. So someone who has a lot of injuries and restrictions, or people who have back pain, people who have issues which are basically like gravity based, where they can't, their own weight hurts them. Or, the pool's the best thing because immediately gravity is kind of more or less eliminated over there. You have a very feeble kind of resistance in the form of the water. And it's great because you're challenging, again, your cardiorespiratory system. You're challenging mobility. It depends on what stroke you're doing again. It's low impact. It's good. But again, at some point, you'll reach your threshold with swimming also. So
the
you can't.
People who pee in the pool, that's the problem. That's why I stopped swimming and after a little while.
I mean, hopefully you'll have to think about that not happening. People having a lot more common sense to not do that.
No, but in Indian pools there's no telling.
There's no telling. I agree. But there is this new chemical that they put in.
If it turns pink,
and blue or pink or whatever. I mean,
but Minash, you've also been able to train a lot of celebrities, actors. I think Mahesh Babu is one of them as well. What is that like? You're working because what the work you're doing is going to be visible to millions and millions of people. So, what is that experience like?
I mean, it's very, very interesting working with these people, and I can speak. So I've worked with a bunch of people. We'll talk about Mahesh because he's the longest guy I've been working with. Unlike a bunch of people who are in the movies, this guy, for him, fitness is his life.
right.
It's the thing that brings about silence. It's the thing that brings about focus, discipline. It's the one thing that shuts off the outside world. And he needs it. A guy like him who's and it's amazing that he's recognized it also as something that's so beneficial outside just the aesthetics. As a guy who's in the public eye as much as he is, for him to understand and recognize the benefits of it and then go so hard at it. I mean, look at the guy. If you see him in his last movie, he doesn't look a day above 35, 36. So I met him, I think 4 or 5 years back, and I actually met him through a physiotherapist who recommended me from Bombay. I was not a physio back then, but I was still a rehab trainer. And he had something going on with his knee. And he had a bunch of people who were... These guys are big, right, in the industry. So they had, you have opinions flying in from everywhere. And he had... In that moment of desperation, I think he just had too many cooks in the kitchen. And then I sort of came in and I just gave him a bit of a different approach. And I said, listen, why don't you try this? Let's see how this goes. I don't know if he just happened to, at that point, he was convinced by what I said. And then he went through with it. And a knee injury that he was struggling with for almost a good 10 years, where he had it operated also on, I think, twice. We kind of took care of the knee pain. And then we understood mechanically what was constantly getting him into pain again, and we just said that's not happening anymore. We were able to push that aside, and then train him in a way in which his body was starting to respond positively to it. Not like you train hard for a week and then his knee starts getting busted again. So and ever since then, like through the new, so my training methods with him were very, very different compared to what he was used to, and he kind of like was hooked onto it, hooked in a good way. But ever since, it's been 4 years right now, the guy never misses sessions. I travel with him wherever he goes, early in the morning, late in the night, depending upon when his schedule allows him. He's in the gym, which means...
So like, because this whole
Does he come to Myo or like...
So he came to Myo to inaugurate the place, and he's been there a couple of times, but I go to his place, which is like 5 minutes away from Myo. He's got a fabulous gym, man. His place.
I'm sure.
No, but like with Bollywood stars as such, there's been with Hrithik Roshan, of course, leading the way, John Abraham, and so on. It's become like there's no more of an option of not having a body if you're an actor anymore. But sometimes the rumor floats around that these certain so and so actors, they're juicing up, they're they're taking steroids. How much of truth is there to that?
I mean, we don't have to go all the way up to these top level A-listers to ask if is Chris Hemsworth on juice. Of course, the guy's on juice. Have you seen the size of that guy? Have you seen him like a couple of years back? He's massive. Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman is on
huge.
juice again. He's massive. He's
So what you can't achieve that naturally?
No, you can. And I'm not saying that these guys are not putting in the work. They definitely are. But there is an element of what we call human potential that we can reach as far as just sheer aesthetics go. Like at some point there's a level that that's what you're going to be able to get naturally. And then if you want to, juice, then you get a couple of levels above that. But again, it ends there. Even with the juice, it kind of ends. There's a threshold limit for where your body cannot possibly produce more lean tissue. But coming back to the Bollywood question, I mean, if you see a guy who, if you look at his pictures from, a year ago, and if he was skinny and scrawny and, and then you looked at pictures of his parents or whatever, and they were skinny and scrawny, and there was no real, you're not putting two and two together as far as genetic potential goes. But then suddenly this guy goes on to this training phase, and then a year later, which is a long time, He's like 6 times his size or 5 times his size, and he's jacked and he's veiny, and he's got a big jaw, and he's 1 foot is longer than the other, and then but these are the side effects you see.
1 foot is longer than the other.
Yeah, because when you're injecting these kind of these hormones that are,
What are steroids exactly?
What are these?
What are the steroids?
So essentially our body makes hormones, like I'll give you the most simple example, growth hormones of body, which we make in response to resistance training. Like when we train and when we elicit a certain amount of damage during a workout, these hormones are released in the body in order for us to grow tissue. Now growth hormone is also responsible for us to grow as tall as we do. It plays a role in not just muscle building, it plays a role in bones, it plays a role in a bunch of developmental things. Now you can have that your natural growth hormone, or you can ingest extra amounts of it. And our body has a beautiful system called a negative feedback loop, wherein if you ingest too much, the body just doesn't work anymore. But if you give it a little extra than what it's used to, it uses that signaling hormone to say, okay guys, we need to start building our muscle. And the thing with these hormones are, like imagine Shiraz and I went and we did the exact same workout, and right when we started also, we were the exact same potential. Lift the same weights, do the same amount of time for cardio, etc. And Shiraz was clean and I was on juice. 3 months later, with the same maturity, I'd be lifting so much heavier than him. Even if we pick the exact same weights for that 3-month program. If at the end of that we were just asked to, okay, why don't we just, let's go for our 1 rep maxes here. Let's see what's going to happen. A, I'm going to be much more muscular than him at that point. And B, I will just be stronger than him. My contractile ability is going to be far
But the muscle
higher.
quality which is being made through juicing, is it good? It'll last, or?
Yeah, so here's the scary thing about juicing. Have you guys ever seen these freak videos where you see these bodybuilders tear their pecs?
Yeah.
They come to bench press, they push the weights,
drops.
And then it just pulls like something.
Exactly. So these are guys who are using these hormones, and I'll tell you what happens. The muscles become so strong, the contractile ability becomes so strong that the tendon, which is the part of the muscle which then attaches to the bone, so you have muscle that moves on to tendon, which then moves on to bone. The tendon hasn't got the kind of strength yet. So the muscle contracts, the tendon doesn't have the load, it just rips straight off. Whereas if you were doing that naturally, the tendon would be as evenly loaded as the muscle. So those freak incidences normally don't occur.
But also, like when we talk about juicing and steroids, apparently everyone who's done any steroid.
Is it like an injection?
It's an injection usually.
I don't know. I mean,
you have oral steroids that you can take.
So it's not whey protein.
No. Whey protein is just
that's the difference. No, but like also,
I'm very bad at this. So.
No, but I can break that down for you. Whey protein is just protein that's broken down into its most simple form, which is amino acids.
Okay.
So remember when I spoke about satiating food. I said protein, when it goes down, you feel satiated. There's this hormone release. It takes time to break down. The reason we have whey is the moment we drink it at the end of the session, it's already broken down.
Right.
So it gets sent to the muscles much
directly.
faster.
Okay. Got it.
So, but would you recommend protein shakes? Is it good?
Yeah,
Is it healthy? There's no side effect?
No, I mean, so here's the thing. Protein shakes, not just for guys like us who are training. Every single individual, everyone, no one is not on this list. Over the age of 25, and starts to become very significant post 30, we go through this term happens. It's called sarcopenia.
Okay.
It's basically a gradual loss of muscle, lean tissue. Lean tissue. So if you
going through it.
if you don't maintain your lean tissue, you will lose it. The whole idea, if you don't use it, you lose it. That entire thing starts to become very, very significant. If you've done nothing from 25 to 40, you suddenly see a guy, he's got nothing on him, and he's got a big gut, and there's no legs. Because the body has naturally just taken that tissue away because you've not been using it. The same thing comes in the sense of, my guys have heard this term called osteoporosis. It's basically osteo meaning bone, porosis meaning like small pores, holes in your bone, which is the exact same thing. So the bones, our bones love force. They love forces going through it. So whether it's walking, running, squatting.
Really?
That allows, so there's a
Keeps
small,
them healthy.
yeah, there's a small charge that's actually created within a bone. That charge signals more and more calcium deposits to come back into the bone. Whereas when that charge is absent, the calcium starts to leave, the calcium and the phosphate groups start to leave the bone. So this whole idea of osteoporosis, which is very, very reversible if you're using your body well, or sarcopenia, like I just said, the loss of muscle tissue. Another way to hold on to that muscle tissue is adequate amounts of protein through supplements or whatever. So if you have a whey protein supplement, another way for the body to keep lean tissue is if it constantly has reserves of amino acids, specifically leucine, which is there in the bloodstream. It's just there. So the body's like, okay, keep this because we're getting these reserves. We can build muscle right now.
Got it.
So slightly older people, our grandparents. All very, very important because the older they get, they're already losing it. And they need an easy source. They can't sit and, go through big plates of beef and shit.
So you say that the older you get, you should have whey protein even, or no?
The older you get, your protein content has to keep increasing.
It is increasing.
Yeah, we do the opposite. The older we get,
we become vegetarian when we get older.
There you go.
That's the problem.
More sambar and rice.
Tell that to my dad. For sure.
Comfort food, man.
So basically,
can't blame us.
But also to coming back, like, are these multivitamins that people start taking, saying, for example, Revital. That they say, once you're above 30, you have to take this multivitamin tablet. How true is that?
I see, like anything in our body, if we're getting it naturally, there's no need of an extra supplementation.
Got it.
It's like the most simple example is like if you're eating, having tons of milk, for example, why are you having a calcium supplement along with that? You think of multivitamins right now. If you were vegan again, you'd be thinking about all these minerals that you're not getting and these vitamins that you're not getting. Then you'd probably maybe supplement. But if you got a good rounded diet, there's no reason. Like even a lot of people are like, let's get on our omegas, let's get on this, let's get on that. But if you're eating good amounts of fish, lean tissue, eggs, you're anyway naturally getting these things. These are all, for me, the biggest issue over here is these corporations are selling you things in the quest of you actually believing the fact that we're not getting this naturally. They're saying you don't get this, but you actually do. So they're selling you something you already have. It's up to the buyer at the end of that. If that is going to be some form of placebo that makes him feel good about his day and the fact that he's being quote unquote healthy, because this is the thing right now, right? Everyone wants to just trump the other person by being healthy. Oh, you're on keto. Oh, I'm on Atkins. Mediterranean. I stopped drinking beer. I only gin these days.
There was something called there was called the beer workout or something. The beer and biryani workout. Yes, in Hyderabad there was a beer biryani.
You're absolutely right. No, you're absolutely right. At Peddama, right on top.
Yes.
What is that?
I don't know, man. I think
it's a restaurant.
I've never heard this. I'm shocked. Beer and biryani.
I almost went in once. I was like, what if there's something I missed along the way? Maybe the answer's up there.
No, because every time you turn around, so first they tell you, okay, fat is bad. Suddenly you say, no, fat is good. You don't cut out fat. Oh, well, this is bad. And then just keeps on changing. So the normal consumer has kind of lost faith in what is we are still discovering our body. We don't know what is good. Like, for example, I heard somewhere that if you want to live a nice, healthy life, you have to take care of your back more than any other muscle out over there. How true is that?
Yeah, for me, I use this line a lot to a lot of, I don't remember if I told this to Shiro or not, but it's like you're only as old as your spine is mobile. So one of the first few things that we lose is, just think about how we played as kids. We rolled, we fell, we twisted, we turned, we bent our backs in strange ways. Did anything ever happen?
Never.
We took a nice break for 15 years and suddenly you look to the left also and you get a catch. You bend down and your back's gone. So you have to think about the logistics of that. The back is meant, the spine is meant to do all these fun things. But then when you just store it away in the garage for 15 years and then suddenly go and you put it in full accelerator after a while, it has lost its ability to perceive what motion is. So the term is proprioception. It loses the ability to understand what is flexing good, is extending good, is rotating. Do I have this range? Do I not? And that's how we end up hurting ourselves. But the spine and the core is a very, very important part.
Do you recommend planks? Like a lot of people say, like if you can plank more than a minute, then you're good.
Yeah, I mean, it's an introductory exercise, a plank is a great way to learn the whole idea of core stiffness, bracing, staying in that position. It's basically an anti-extension exercise because when you're on the ground, gravity is pushing your butt towards the floor.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to do is you don't want to extend. So you're switching these muscles on to stay in that position. So it's a good introductory exercise, but there's several better ones that you can do.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to throw a few words out there.
Yeah,
You give a short understanding of what what is your thoughts process on it, or good or bad, or so on and so forth.
Let's throw some fun words at him.
Yeah, let's throw some fun words also at him. And you also share us, please.
Biryani fitness. That was a good one.
Yeah, it's called Beeryani fitness.
Biryani
fitness. Okay.
Wow, I never heard of this.
Creativity too.
Okay, juicing.
It's rampant everywhere.
Rampant everywhere.
Every gym, you go to the and there's syringes in different areas.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Rampant everywhere.
Okay. Protein shakes.
They're good for you. Recommend everyone who's training needs to be on protein shakes, and like I said, people who are older also.
Okay. Smart watches for workout.
Kind of overrated, but if that's what it takes for you to get a workout in, good job. This the simplest example today is my wife is in the mall in the morning, and then I get an update saying Tanya started a workout. And I was like, so what are you up to? She's walking in the mall. She started her workout. So if it works for you, then go ahead.
Of course. I get it. That works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't work out in the night.
Bullshit. You can work out whenever you want.
You can work out whenever you want. There's no ideal time. Like everyone says, work out in the morning.
There is no ideal time. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna give you one. Manboobs.
Manboobs. Gynecomastia is a big side effect of steroid use. It is something that is rampant again throughout. Most bodybuilders get the surgery. They actually they get part. Yeah, they get part of the lower half of the chest kind of shaped. They don't cut it off, but they kind of shape it for it not to look like.
But if you reach a certain stage, is just lifting weights the only way to get out of it, or what?
No. These are guys who are, I'm telling you, who are on steroids. I'm not talking about man boobs who are not.
No, but a lot of us just get man boobs normally also.
Yeah, correct. So man boobs is basically an extra deposition of adipose tissue, which is fat, which is on your chest.
Yeah.
Now you can be genetically predisposed to man boobs, which is but you can also train your chest in a way in which you start first of all you're in a calorie deficit, then you start training your chest, so your chest starts to fill up with muscle, and the more the lower you are in your calories, the more fat you're burning. Thereby, you're also burning fat because there's no targeted fat loss, right?
Yeah.
It's not like if I keep working my chest, my man boobs
this
are
is also one major thing where everyone says like, oh, do this to lose weight and your sides or something.
Yeah.
Like there's no such thing.
Overall lose weight, right?
Yeah, because a lot of people believe like, oh, I want to lose weight here, so I'll have to do these crunches on the side. But that actually, there's no such thing as targeted weight loss in that.
Yeah, I mean, you said it yourself.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah. But a lot of people in our age group, like especially even men, our bellies bulk up and everything else is fine, the bellies come. Whereas for women, it's a very different thing. It's all over the body. Like, why is that?
So women are predisposed to store fat either in their mammary glands, so up here.
Okay.
In sometimes their arms, but mostly in their hips moving down. Whereas we have a tendency to store. It's called visceral fat. It's like fat. It's actually very unhealthy fat because it's fat depositions actually around and within the organs sometimes. A lot. So if you see a person who's relatively skinny who just has a gut, that's going to be visceral depositions of fat, and that's primarily going to be alcohol that is doing that to that person.
Right.
It's going to be a lot of empty calories that he's consuming, and it tends to be stored primarily and anteriorly, so up in the front, and sometimes like around. So you'll see on the back he'll be absolutely fine. You walk up to the front,
and
he'll look like 4 months, 5 months pregnant. Yeah.
Okay. So Minash, in order to cap the interview, what advice would you give to that fat lazy guy watching this podcast right now who just can't get the motivation to go to the gym or get fit?
Dude, it's a hard thing, but I don't believe in motivation. I think it's motivation is fleeting. Motivation is something that you watch this video and like for 5 minutes you're excited about it, then your life starts and things move on. But I think set realistic goals and I think set a standard for yourself that 6 weeks down the line or 6 months down the line, you look back and you're actually proud of the fact that you set these small goals, and it was probably the hardest point in your life or the heaviest you've been, and you were able to actually check those small goals off. So I think don't overwhelm yourself with too much. Set small goals periodically, get them out of the way one step at a time. And don't make weight loss the main goal of that. Make it a healthy lifestyle, make it conscious eating, make it being happy with your self-image. And if I think that's a very real way to look at your journey towards a better, healthier you.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Minash.
Thanks, Minash. Thank you so much. One of my favorite talks.
Appreciate it.
He's so excited. I've never seen him this
excited.